flawless. I mean, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a round. When you look back at Bud Crawford's career, there is something really special.
Nothing to do, but damn, like what else do you gotta do? he's a 3-time undisputed champion.
Looking small? What you mean I'm looking small? You looking small? Like, it's just that, like, you gotta really hurt that dude to turn him away and to try to stop him from doing what he want to do. So skillful, yes, but this and this.
Fighters fear Terence Crawford for more than just his skill. Roy Jones Jr. even pointed out how Canelo looked uneasy facing him. What makes Crawford so intimidating is his calm, calculated approach. He studies every move, rarely gets hit clean, and punishes mistakes with flawless timing. Opponents often feel trapped, realizing there's no safe path to victory against a fighter who combines composure, precision, and ruthless efficiency in the ring.
And that stare down that we talked about when I told you either he's not ready for this or he's trying to little boy Bud. He wasn't trying to little boy Bud. He really was afraid. Well, not afraid, but he was worried about Bud. And Bud knew that. And Bud being the older guy, Bud kind of looked him in his eye and made him turn away first. That was a victory for Bud. That was Bud's first victory. Anytime that happens, if something else don't come around or something else don't happen to undo that, you got a problem.
Paulie Malignaggi emphasized that Terence Crawford has crafted one of the most extraordinary resumes in boxing history, becoming an undisputed champion in 3 different weight classes, a rarity in the modern era. Crawford achieved it by consistently taking on elite opponents rather than easy matchups. What impressed Paulie most wasn't just the victories, but how Crawford earned them. He dominated without absorbing much punishment, rarely getting hit clean while dismantling world-class fighters. His flawless record of 41 wins, with 31 knockouts and 0 defeats, speaks volumes about his greatness. Malignaggi described Crawford's streak as nothing short of historic and highlighted his recent triumph over Canelo Alvarez as more than a single win. It marked the dawn of a new era. Much like Floyd Mayweather once did, Crawford has now established himself as a defining fighter of this generation.
I mean, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a round. When you look back at Bud Crawford's career, there is something really special. It's one of those things now, because now I've now seen back-to-back generations of Floyd Mayweather and Bud Crawford, and man, you know, it's one of those things where now I understand why the people that lived in the Ray Leonard era say, you know, oh, wish we could see Ray Leonard against Mayweather, and how that would be. Because it just leaves such an empty feeling when you have such special fighters that were in different generations, and you saw both of them. I mean, I saw the entirety of the Mayweather generation. I saw the entirety of the Bud Crawford generation. Just incredible. Really, really incredible. And I know Mayweather gets a lot of hate, but for me, he's a tremendous, tremendous fighter. And Terence Bud Crawford is in that realm as well. And it's a fight we'll never get to see. So what are we going to do, you know? It'll be up to the fantasy fights, you know? But let's get into it, man. I want to get into the undercard as well and some of my thoughts on the Netflix show. But let's get into the main event first. Crawford really boxed very, very well, very, very intelligently. The question mark was what happens when Crawford gets hit cleanly. I'm not sure he got hit cleanly at the whole fight. You know, he got hit with some partial shots. Some shots landed cleanly, but by the time Canelo started landing anything cleanly, I think he was hesitant because he was getting countered so much that he was taking some of the steam off the shots in order to hope to be more accurate. Because even late in the fight, there were a couple of shots that Canelo landed, but they barely moved.
Bryan described Terence Crawford's performance against Canelo as nothing short extraordinary, noting how rare it is to see such perfect balance between defense and offense in modern boxing. Usually, fighters excel in one area while sacrificing the other, but Crawford combined both with precision. He effortlessly neutralized Canelo's attacks with slick movement and a tight guard, then shifted instantly into offense to punish every mistake. Bryan highlighted how this complete package sets Crawford apart from other champions. His ability to shut down an opponent's weapons while steadily building momentum is unmatched. What stood out most to him was Crawford's composure under pressure, dominating without taking unnecessary damage. Witnessing a fighter control an elite opponent with such sharp skill and calm execution was, in Bryan's words, truly remarkable.
I think that for me, I watch defense as much as I watch offense. So
Yeah.
like I thought like watching Bud catch those shots off his glove,
He looked amazing.
so amazing.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah. He'd
looked
go to a
great.
body and he'd catch that and come up with an uppercut. You know, just all those things that
He
seem.
looked great.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do that to ever.
No one has. Yeah, he's the best.
Canelo.
Yeah,
Ever.
he's the best.
And I think he would do that to Canelo on his best day as well. And Canelo said it. He goes, "I couldn't figure him out,"
No,
which is why he probably won't fight him again. in a way.
they'll fight again.
You think so?
The payday, yeah. But so you're gonna get Canelo because the money's in Canelo Crawford, the rematch. I don't want to see it, but I want Crawford to get paid, so might as well do it.
Andre Ward gave glowing praise to Terence Crawford, labeling him the most skillful fighter of his generation. Ward, known as a master technician in his own era, emphasized Crawford's mentality, explaining that once he sets his mind on a goal, he will go to any length to achieve it. In Ward's view, the only way to stop Crawford is to physically hurt him in the ring, because tactical strategies alone will never suffice. What makes him so dangerous is his adaptability, his ability to switch stances seamlessly, think clearly under pressure, and impose his will regardless of circumstances. Ward stressed that Crawford's rise is no accident, but rather the result of sheer determination, grit, and relentless dedication to overcoming every challenge placed before him.
Somebody that like I can bet the house on. It's Bud.
Who's the most skilled fighter today?
Bud is definitely one of them for sure. Me and him, we so much alike in our mentality. Like soon as I see this dude, he come in the room or I come in the room, we start arguing about basketball, wrestling, anything, bro. Like, man, you can't, man, you looking small. What you mean I'm looking small? You looking small. Like, it's just that, like, you gotta really hurt that dude to turn him away and to try to stop him from doing what he want to do. So skillful, yes, but this and this is different, man.
Crawford's journey has always been deeply personal, shaped heavily by his family's influence. He often recalls how his father instilled belief in him early, predicting that one day he would become an undisputed world champion. On the other hand, his mother was skeptical, never fully convinced he would reach the top. Yet, instead of discouraging him, her doubt became powerful fuel. Every time Crawford stepped into the ring, he carried the determination to prove her wrong. With each victory and championship belt, he not only fulfilled his father's vision, but also earned his mother's pride. Today, Crawford reflects on that path with satisfaction, proud that his success has brought both validation of his father's faith and the respect of his once doubtful mother.
Dad used to tell my mom I was going to be a world champion.
I told him we would be.
How'd that make you feel? It filled me with rage. And every time I stepped foot in the ring or anything that I ever did, I just wanted to win so bad so I can prove a point to her.
I paid the kids, I said, if y'all gonna whoop Bud, I give y'all $10 a piece. Canelo.
You went out on the street.
Yeah.
What's now Bud Crawford Street.
Yeah.
And offered $10 to anyone who can kick my son's butt.
Yep.
And a lot of takers.
Yeah,
don't
kids in
want
the
to do
neighborhood. Couldn't nobody whoop them.
What did he tell you then?
He told your mom, I told you I'm the best.
Reflecting on his career choices, Crawford explained that he never aimed to become undisputed at 154 pounds because he didn't see enough competitive fights in that division. For him, being undisputed is not just about collecting belts, but about doing it against the very best opposition. Instead of settling at 154, he made the bold decision to chase opportunities at 168, where the challenges are tougher and the names bigger. Crawford's refusal to move down highlights his confidence and hunger to test himself in higher weight classes, ensuring his legacy is defined by risk-taking and ambition rather than comfort or chasing.
Has being undisputed at 154 ever crossed your mind at this point that you had in your career?
Not at all, because I'm looking at the landscape of the 154-pound division. There's a lot of great fighters, but there's not a lot of defining fights at 154. There's not a lot of legacy fights at 154. You know, when I'm looking at the landscape of 154, I beat, what's his name?
Majimov at 154?
No, the champion that just knocked out Tim Tszyu.
Oh, Bachram.
Bachram.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bachram. They're gonna say who was Bachram?
Facts.
He knocked out Tim Tszyu that already had losses.
I would put you down with Fedora though. They gonna.
Without Tim Fedora already been knocked out.
Yeah, he did.
So, along my career, I've been criticized and people have taken credit away from me just to try to diminish my accomplishments just off of pure hate.
Crawford's often taken time to showcase the belts he's earned, not as empty bragging, but as proof of what years of discipline and sacrifice have produced. To him, each title represents far more than a win. It embodies the struggles, setbacks, and relentless effort behind his journey. When he stands with those belts, it's a reminder to both fans and critics that nothing came easy. Every piece of gold was earned through hard fights, doubters, and challenges overcome. For Crawford, the belts symbolize perseverance, self-belief, and the rewards of dedication. More importantly, they inspire the next generation of fighters, showing that greatness is possible through commitment and hard work.
Just reflecting on my accomplishments at my mama house. That's where all my belts at. You know, hard work, dedication. Things that y'all favorite fighters, some of them, haven't got. So I see why y'all mad. See why y'all mad. Look at that one right there. That's where it all started at. Right here. This one. In Texas. In Texas, baby. Don't hate. Just congratulate.
Virgil Ortiz Jr., a rising star in his own right, gave Terence Crawford immense praise for his most recent performance, calling it absolutely beautiful. Ortiz explained that Crawford did more than enough in that fight to prove himself and no longer needs to chase opponents to validate his greatness. In his view, Crawford's legacy is already secure, and further challenges are unnecessary for him to be remembered among the all-time greats. This level of admiration from a young, ambitious fighter highlights just how deeply Crawford's dominance has impacted the next generation, leaving them inspired and in awe of his remarkable achievements.
He just he neutralized all of Canelo's strengths. He knew that he was gonna look for the right hook, because I believe that they've been looking at Crawford being hurt by that right hook before. So he neutralized it. He used his jab really well. He boxed beautifully, and man, I mean, he did everything right. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Crawford first, because obviously we can get to Canelo later. But in the post-fight, they asked him, a media member asked him if he'd come back down to 154 to fight Boots. Obviously, in the same token, I took it as, all right, Boots or Virgil, right? And he said he's not coming back down to 154. What are your thoughts on him not coming down, and what do you think he will more than likely do next?
I don't know what he's gonna do. I did read something that said he'll go down to 160. You know, and I think that is definitely a possibility, and you know, that fight can still happen at 160. And as far as what he's gonna do now, I mean, I don't know. He kind of beat the final boss of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's kind of nothing. I don't want to say there's nothing to do, but damn, like, I mean, what else do you got to do? He's a 3-time undisputed champion. He made some good money. At this point, he's just a free player right now, I guess. He can do whatever he wants.
Crawford's dominance has created a ripple effect across boxing, with fighters from different divisions eager to call him out. Sebastian Fundora, known for his towering frame and relentless style, has already voiced his desire to face Crawford. Many refer to this as the Crawford effect. When a fighter reaches such a high level, others seek to test themselves against him to gain credibility. Rather than Crawford chasing opponents, challengers are now lining up for the chance to share the ring with him. It's a clear shift that shows the power and influence Crawford commands in today's boxing world.
Is in full effect. Okay? It's in full effect. Terence Crawford now is a wanted man. Prior to that, everybody said Terence Crawford is not a draw. Terence Crawford can't sell. Terence Crawford is not a big money fight. Now, we have an interesting situation brewing. The former unified WBA, WBO, WBC, junior middleweight world champion, Mexican superstar or star boxer, the Towering Inferno, Sebastian Fundora, refused to fight Terence Bud Crawford, who is now, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt, the pound for pound king, 5-division world champion, 3-division undisputed world champion, with a record of 42 wins, no loss, no draw, 31 wins by way of knockout. When Terence Crawford dominated his stocks, The Truth, Errol Spence Jr., in July of 2023, Terence Crawford petitioned to move up and fight the Towering Inferno, Sebastian Fundora. Okay? And Sebastian Fundora has zero interest.
Oshaki Foster admitted he was impressed by how Terence Crawford silenced long-standing doubts about his career. For years, critics argued Crawford hadn't faced enough top-tier opponents or questioned how he performed against elite competition. But his recent victories, especially the win over Canelo, proved he could dominate even the most established champions. Foster noted that Crawford didn't just erase the criticism. He set a new standard by thriving under the brightest lights. To him, Crawford's journey reflects persistence, transforming skepticism into undeniable respect and recognition.
Shit, they definitely doubted, bro. And he told me months ago that he was gonna do that, and he went and did that. That shit, you know what I mean? And they doubted him a lot throughout his career. You know what I mean? Just a lot, and just a lot of people that I look at that's great fighters. They've been doubted. You know what I mean? Same thing with Floyd. They had the Oscar De La Hoyas, the Shane Mosley, the Trinidad. They all was putting them above Floyd and all this woo-de-woo. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like getting doubted is a great thing. It gives me, you know what I mean, that push. So, yeah.
Did you think it would look that, I ain't gonna call it easy, but I felt like people didn't think that Crawford could do it that clean. Did that surprise you?
No. It did surprise me that he stayed more disciplined. Like, I thought what was gonna happen was he was gonna do what he was doing, and then, you know, Terence got hard. He trying to bang it out, especially if he feel played enough. He feel like you feel like you doing something. He gonna come with it stuff. So I thought that was gonna be a problem. Like if Canelo landed a punch, he would try to go in the trenches with Canelo, and that's what I would have been scared for him for. But man, that boy stayed sharp all night. Man, that boy looked good. Man, I can't lie, he looked good. For sure. I was definitely surprised at how smooth, how easy he beat him.
Blair Cobbs and Conor Benn both shared strong reactions to Crawford's victory over Canelo. Cobbs called it a defining moment, while Benn suggested Crawford could even retire now, leaving the sport on a perfect high. Benn clarified this wasn't criticism, but recognition of how complete Crawford's career already appears. In his eyes, Crawford has nothing left to prove. He could walk away today and still be remembered as one of the greatest fighters of all time. Their comments reflect the belief that Crawford's legacy is already cemented in bold, regardless of what the future.
Sail out on that beautiful sunset and retire. He's done a lot for the sport, and there's really not too much else that he can possibly do in the sport of boxing outside of make a beautiful retirement and leave a legacy of fighters that aspire to be just as great as Terence Crawford, like myself.
Has Canelo's legacy been damaged after that or not?
Not really. I think that Canelo is still a terrific and a fantastic athlete that's spent a little bit too much time at the table of boxing, and right now it's his time to make his exit.
Not everyone agrees with the idea of Crawford's invincibility. Some analysts argue that while his win over Canelo was historic, it doesn't guarantee he is beyond defeat. They emphasize that boxing is filled with other elite fighters who, under the right circumstances, could potentially outclass him. To them, Crawford's triumph was monumental but not absolute, as the sport remains unpredictable and even the greatest can be tested. This perspective serves as a reminder that while Crawford has achieved incredible heights, new challenges will always emerge, keeping the debate about his ultimate place in boxing history very much alive.
He's the best guy in that division. I think it's safe to say that. But I do think that a lot of those guys will give me very interesting and potentially difficult style matchups for him. They'll be more difficult than a Canelo fight. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but just go and look at the fight with Madrimov if you don't believe me. Long story short, beating Canelo Alvarez doesn't mean that Crawford is unstoppable or unbeatable. Yes, he's one of the best fighters of this division, one of the best fighters ever with his achievements, but it doesn't mean he won't lose before the end if he fights the wrong guy. At the very least, it doesn't mean he won't have a harder fight than that Canelo fight. And to finish this video, do I think that he's better than Floyd Mayweather? Do I think now that he would beat Floyd Mayweather if they were to compete at 147? Well, I think Crawford at 147 is the best Terence Crawford in terms of his attributes, his style, and the strength and power he has at the weight. I think he's probably unbeatable at 147 in this era. It's because he's going up the weight style we're even having this conversation, to be honest with you. But I do think he's an all-time great. I do think he's in the conversation, which is the best you can do, because we can't definitively say who beats who in a fantasy match. That's why I really don't like them. I've been asked a few of them recently, and I just, without studying and then without actually getting the chance to see it, I just don't really like going there. But we'll do it at the end of this video anyway. It's definitely a conversation to have whether or not he's better than Floyd Mayweather, because he's done it without these rehydration clauses. He's done it. He hasn't really cherry-picked, although I would say, to be fair, to look at Crawford's record, he has fought a lot of guys where it's been the very end of their career. Well, to, Sean Porter, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, they're all great names, but none of them were in their prime anymore. But Crawford did it so emphatically, and the way he beat Errol Spence as well. Again, he had his issues, but again, the way he did it so emphatically, the way he passes the eye test every single time, you have to assume that he's going to do it no matter who he's facing. I do think a fight between him and Mayweather would have been very, very difficult to call.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates. Until next time, take care.